we are exploring the epidemic of stress with one question: what matters? So here with us now are the co-founders of What Matters, Paul Sherman and David Garten. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us here. It's great.
That sounds just way too simple, that you could reduce your stress by saying what matters, but you come from experience, right? Harvard grad, corporate world, and then all of a sudden you had burnouts and developed this program that if we just say what matters, we can shift. How does that work?
Yeah, so the elegance is in its simplicity. So here I was, a person who had a 25-year corporate career, and I'd say I had about 3 major burnouts in my experience. Then finally the neck surgery came, so it started manifesting physically. I'm sitting there recovering from neck surgery, going, this can't happen anymore. At that moment, I had what I call, and what we call in our model, a stop and ask moment. As you're sitting on the couch recovering from neck surgery, stop and ask. And what I stopped and asked myself was, what matters to me? Why am what has contributed to my burning out over all these times and years? And frankly, what I found was I'd stopped asking the question, what matters?
Okay, so just saying what matters. I mean, as people are stressed out, so if you ask me what matters, I guess I would say my family, my kids, having time to do things I enjoy, but maybe not living that daily life because you're...
And that's the next step. Once you ask what matters, you said live your daily life. If you don't live in accordance with what matters, then you talked about 70% of stress and negative symptoms coming up from stress.
Right.
If you ask the question, if you stop and ask and say what matters to me, and then slow down enough to actually make choices. Right. Our tagline for our organization is life gets better when you dare to choose.
Right.
So you're choosing based on what matters to you.
Yeah.
And then you're feeding your soul, you're feeding your spirit, you're actually making choices and living in accordance.
So David, you guys have helped co-found this organization because you watched him go through that. But let me ask you this, don't you think people say, well, I can ask myself what matters, but it just doesn't matter because that's not going to change? Yeah,
part of the issue is everyone is so busy taking care of kids, keeping a relationship going, working, taking care of aging parents. And it's the stopping and asking the question, and then you realize what matters and then how much doesn't matter, and then suddenly you start shedding all these things in your lives as far as different, maybe the kids don't have to do 3 different sports, they just do 2 sports or something like that, and you make the choices that fit better for you and your family.
We have a model. I want to bring up a little graphic you have, because when people go, we can go to your workshops, we can go to your website, which is just askwhatmatters.com.
Yes.
But number 1, you talked a lot about stop and ask. What's next?
Stop and ask. The next step is reach in.
Okay.
And reach in means, what am I doing to align my body, mind, and spirit? Am I a journaler? Am I a meditator? Am I a Pilates person?
What am I doing to connect?
And what am I doing? Exactly.
Next is reach out. You call it a reach out recess. What's the reach out recess?
So the whole idea is, I created for Paul years ago a toolbox for living, and what it has is people in his life that he can reach out for. Sometimes we're so busy that we don't even think. So it's like you reach into the toolbox and you say, oh, I'm going to call my sister, or I'll call a friend. So we don't have to go it alone.
Right.
We have a whole world out there to support us, and some of the things to reach out for are, maybe it's your church, maybe it's a yoga group, maybe it's a book group, but there's the reach in, and then there's the reach out, and use any of the tools and resources that work best for you.
And I know people are really having success within their life, and it seems, I know even you said in your website, oh, it seemed Pollyannish, but when you do it, it's working. So a lot of this information, unfortunately we're out of time here, but the information is on askwhatmatters.com. It's free.
Yes.
You can go in there, and just even taking that moment to go to your free website could be a shift for you, right?
Yes.
And so you won't forget.
We would love to give you this shirt.
Oh, thank you so much.
Shirt.
All right. What matters? The question we should be asking every day. Paul and David, thank you so much for being here. Scott, what matters to you?
What matters? Well, we're going to be talking about what matters, what you need to bring to the beach.